Hi everyone, hope you're well. Chris Cowlin here. Now before we get into it, I'd just like to inform you about a new website selling quality current and retro Spurs jerseys, okjersey.com. They sell all current and retro Tottenham Hotspur shirts in all sizes. They sell the current fan and player versions as well as the 80s and 90s retro shirts, including my very favourite, the 1991 FA Cup final shirt. You can order very easily from okjersey.com, and if you use the code Chris, you will receive an 8% discount off your final order. You can also use the QR code on the top left of your screen. And by the way, they also have some training wear here and the 25-26 colour special edition jersey. Hi everyone, hope you're well. My name is Chris Cowlin and this is another episode of the Spurs Chat Podcast, and I'm absolutely delighted to say that we are talking about a win this evening. Tottenham Hotspur 3, Atletico Madrid 2. Now, of course, Spurs are out of the Champions League, but what a performance it was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That place was rocking tonight, and the fans were absolutely outstanding, and they have just been thanked by Igor Tudor. Of course, it is Igor Tudor's first win as a Tottenham boss at the sixth time of asking. 1 win, 1 draw and 4 defeats. But we have a huge game coming up on Sunday at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium against Nottingham Forest. And what a very, very positive week it has been. Now, we're live on YouTube, on X and Facebook. Please do get involved. Let us know how you are feeling right now going into that Forest game on Sunday. And let us know how you're feeling about the performance tonight, because it was a very, very different performance to what we have seen in the last couple of months. A very, very positive week. That point and that performance at Anfield, and now this evening. Now, as per usual, we've got 3 of our channel regulars with us. Ricky Norwood is back with us. Rick, how are you?
Buzzing, mate. Buzzing. And it's about time. It's about time. Tottenham Hotspur decided to play some football tonight. My goodness, how good it felt. Listen, look, overall we're out, but it was more about a performance. It was more than like going through the Champions League tonight. You know, we had to see some type of kind of progression. And you know what, Chris, you've said it all season. And Frank, you know, what an utter fraud he has been.
Who?
You know, Thomas Fraud, that guy there. Because I swear to you, bro, it's like you look at the things that we've built on for the first time. We built on, like you say, the grit, determination and fight against Liverpool. And then we went out there from minute 1 to minute 95, we were up for it. You know, every single player. The passes were crisper. Their heads were up. They were moving forward. We had attacking play. You know, Tell was like on it. Kolo was like Ricky, everybody.
We'll get into it. I've only said
everybody. Hello. I know, but I am buzzing, mate. I can't wait to jump in with you beautiful people. It's been a while, Chris. It's been a while since I've been happy, mate. Like, goodness. Like, look, I just can't wait to get in with it with you beautiful people. And all of you beautiful people around the world, get your comments in. Get tweeting, get liking, get sharing. Do the damn thing. Let's have it. We've had a win. And it's a positive one tonight.
Ricky is absolutely right. It has been a while since we've had smiles on our faces talking about a good performance. It was a very positive podcast on Sunday after that Liverpool game, but I've got a feeling this one's going to be that little bit better, because it was a really good performance today at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And it is fair to say as well, if we play like that on Sunday, and if we play like this for the rest of the season, there is absolutely no doubt that Spurs will be a Premier League team next season, and that is the most important thing right now. Also back with us is Leigh Baker, all the way from New York, USA. Leigh, how are you?
Great to be back. Good to see you, Chris. Great to be on with Top Bins and Dustin.
You don't need to call him that.
Dustin, Top Bin. Yeah, win-win for me. I mean, had so many encouraging things we'll talk about, but I think the performance, the momentum, and dare I say it, losing was probably in our interest. And that sounds mad, but concentrate on the league. But there's so much to take heart from. I can't wait to get into it.
Absolutely. Completely right, Leigh. Completely agreed. So many positives to talk about this evening, and that is great to hear and great to see. Also back with us is Dustin Lau, all the way from Singapore. Dustin, how are you?
It's great to be here to talk about the first win of 2026, the first win for Tudor. No injuries, Bergwijn, Udogi back, Vicario, Gray, Xavi, Muani, and Tel all had great games. All Assassi getting minutes there. There are lots of positives there, other than not making it to the next round.
Absolutely. Well, great to have you three on board this evening. Now, let's get into it. Spurs 3, Atletico Madrid 2. Of course, Kolo Muani got the opening goal of the game after 30 minutes with a fantastic header, a fantastic delivery in from Matisse Tel, it has to be said, but we will get into it and talk about it at length. Alvarez equalised in the 47th minute for Atletico Madrid. Xavi Simons then put Spurs 2-1 up in the 52nd minute. Hanko then equalised in the 75th minute. And then Xavi Simons with a winner in the 90th minute from the penalty spot. Now, the match facts and stats, Spurs had 51% of the ball to Atletico Madrid's 49%. XG, Spurs 2.45, Atletico Madrid 1.04. Shots, Spurs had 18, Atletico also had 18. Shots on target, Tottenham had 11 to Atletico Madrid's 6. Total touches inside the opposition box, both teams had 30. Goalkeeper saves, Vicario 5, Atletico Madrid 8. Aerial duels 1, Spurs 14, Atletico Madrid 4. Fouls committed, Spurs 16, Atletico Madrid 8. And both teams had 7 corners. Now, Ricky, let's start the show with you this evening. Let's get your thoughts on today's game. And come on, give us all the positivity you've got this evening.
Mate, oh my goodness. I might have the podcast by myself. No, listen.
What's new? What's new?
It's been so long. It's been so long. Do you know what? From front to back, the whole 11 was fantastic tonight. From minute one, they went out there and there was a confidence about them. There was a will to win. There was a desire. We was up against it tonight. A good Atletico Madrid team. They're well versed in Europe. We're in up. I say up and down form. Well, we're on the up now, but we was in terrible form for a long time. That first leg last week. You think to yourself, if it wasn't for those 3 slips and a free kick that was never a free kick, where could we have been? But you know what? It's not so much about that. It's about that performance. Like I say, from minute 1 to the 95th minute. I loved the passing today. There was crisp passing. There was first time passing. There was overlaps. There was so many good things happening. There was a will to express themselves out there. They knew that it was an uphill struggle tonight, but they knew that if they went out tonight, then that would be the end of their European dream. And you saw that at the end of the game. Even though we won and had a positive performance tonight, they were disappointed with the ultimately going out. And that's a beautiful thing to see. When this team has been questioned about whether they care or not, you can see it within all of them. They do care. They've just been broken this season. They've been broken. But you know what? I got you to build them up. And they've taken that positivity and that point from Liverpool, where you know, Chris, going up to Anfield, the amount of times that you've gone and how many times we come away with anything, whether we've got a good team, fit team, depth on the bench or whatever, it doesn't matter. We don't get nothing up there. But to come away with that point and then to build on that tonight, absolutely fantastic. Pep Sarr, fantastic. The engine, he's finding his form again. And then you've got Archie Gray, who was he was unbelievable today in the middle of the park. Just fantastic. The emergence of Gray tonight has been a beautiful thing to see. That's going to give him tons of confidence going into this crunch massive cup final game against Nottingham Forest ultimately. But the boys at the back were composed. They had their heads on their shoulders. They knew what they were doing. At times it was a back 4. At times it went to a back 3. Dragosin was good. There was some odd passes that weren't the greatest, but ultimately he was up for the fight. Romero, fantastic. Van der Ven, fantastic. He looked like the old Van der Ven tonight. Spence brought back the penitentiary tonight as well. You know, you go through that team and it's just so beautiful to see them play football, play expressively, and be able to go out there and just kind of play football, for goodness crackers. We haven't seen them play football. We haven't seen them be confident within themselves and go out to really win a game. And I think that Craig in the group said it best today. It's taken Tudor like 6 games to unfrank this Tottenham side, to actually give them some confidence and give them some belief in their own ability and get them to stand up and get them to look in the mirror and get them to come together ultimately. This time last week, we all wanted Tudor gone, and look how long a week is. Look how many things can happen within a week. Where right now we're getting that bounce. And to take that performance, to take all the positives the gent said as well with the subs. Xavi's goal today was sexy. And he got another one. Do you know what I mean? He scored the penalty. Sexy as well. Hopefully this is the spark and this is the click that we've all needed and we've been waiting for all season. So, I just can't wait to get in. That ain't all the positivity. I'm just going to stop so that I can breathe, Chris. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, Ricky's back.
I've missed it, man. I hate slagging off my team. I hate being miserable. I hate being dark. I hate being real. Do you know what I mean? With the team, I hate having our dreams crushed. I hate, bro. A week ago, 10 days ago, I was believing that this side was going down. They gave me nothing. They gave me nothing to hang on to. And Liverpool, unexpected point, fantastic. There was a proper cheer when Richarlison scored for the first time in ages. And then today, to see that performance, to see him come through, and to ultimately win that game, they deserved it. They could have won it. We could have gone through tonight. We had the chances. We had the opportunities. But ultimately, okay, fine, we're out of it. But we won that game tonight, and we won at home for the first time in I don't know how long. So, you know, come on, boys. Like I'm just so happy to be happy about Tottenham and that they've given me something that I can hold on to going into this massive game and this massive run of games to finish this season off.
I'll mention it again, Ricky. I think I mentioned this the last time we played at home in Europe. The last time Spurs lost at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in Europe was actually back in 2020. That is an incredible record that we are on. You know, we are really struggling in the Premier League at home, but in European competition, we have an exceptional record. And the last time that we lost actually was to RB Leipzig, and Timo Werner scored for the opposition that evening. Leigh, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on today's win and performance.
I mean, yeah, amazing. Something's changed, hasn't it? Something's changed. And whether it's an unfranking, to use a Ricky made-up word I never heard before, or... It
was Craig. It was Craig.
All right.
You'll get a lot of them.
It sounds like Craig, actually. No disrespect to Craig. An unfranking. I don't know. Justin will show us if there's some tactical change, and maybe there has been. But I think something's changed in the mentality, and I wonder: is it about inspiration, or is it actually that sometimes you've got to hit rock bottom to really truly turn around? You know, whether it's your life or whatever. And that Liverpool team that we put out and that environment, nobody gave us a chance. And something's happened in their mentality that is literally, there is literally only one way up. It's one way and it's up. And somehow it's rallied them. I don't know that Tudor, is necessarily that force, whether tactically or not. We've no way of knowing. But something's changed. And his quote, which I will give him credit for, which was something to the effect of, you can fight or cry or fight. Well, we're fighting. And I think now, momentum's a really strange thing. This going one way down, which is where we've been. But obviously, we play like that on the weekend. We're fine. We're going to be fine. So momentum has swung. There's so much love. I thought Archie Gray, I didn't think he was Zidane. I thought he was more Ian Esther. I wrote down. We're dancing on the head of a very small pin here, but he was unbelievable. The Gray, Sarr, Tell, and then Simons coming into his own. That was what we've all wanted for so long, apart from many other performances. But yeah, lots to feel positive about.
It's funny, Leigh, isn't it? Because we've struggled all season. I think the times that you've been on the podcast, they've been pretty tough times. So it's nice to speak about, not only tonight, it's been a really positive week all round. And of course, players returning from injury as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just seeing some of those, because you sort of, I mean, the bench was so bad on the weekend. And so just to see Bergvall, Udogie and Gallagher come off the bench, I mean, I don't think any of them play particularly well. Bergvall probably, I thought Udogie looked a bit rusty. But you're just like, oh, yeah, because we've struck them from our mind. So reasons to be cheerful.
Absolutely. Dustin, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on tonight's performance and result.
Yeah, I think there are lots of positive things here. And I think that one of the things that you can see is that it was good that Tudor got to see Xavi playing well in central positions, because it seemed that, he had given up on Xavi, and, maybe that's why he played this game, because, he might have not trusted him with a game again in the against relegation in the league. But, it was good that Tudor got to see him. I think I've seen more central ball progression in this game than all of our other games combined. We were just trying things in the center of the park. We were playing one-touch passes. We were playing through balls. Great fighting spirit from everyone. Getting a win on the night, and I actually saw a bit of like what Tudor's style of play was, because it's a combination of like the high pressing man-to-man centre backs in attacking areas. So you frequently see Dragusin or Romero or Van der Ven trying to win headers that were punted up by Vicario, and that's something that I was calling for when we were playing under Frank, because I was like, why are we playing long balls when our strikers, that was when we had Richarlison injured, Solanke injured, and you had Muani fighting 6-foot centre backs for headers, and I said it doesn't make sense. Send the centre backs up to do that. And one of the key parts of like the way Tudor plays is his centre backs go up high and they go up central, and we saw a bunch of that with Dragusin and Van der Ven pushing up all the way into the attacking third, either to press players or in some cases to win headers. The other part of Tudor's play that I saw as well is that we had a lot more central ball progression and a lot more plays in the half spaces, which is like between the wing and the central areas. So all in all, I think that I will caveat this with saying we've seen good performances in the Champions League that don't necessarily translate into the league. That said, it was Champions League games against weak opposition, and that's not Atletico Madrid. I mean, with players like Griezmann, with players like Alex Baena coming off the bench, I would love to have him in our squad. We played against a team with a lot of quality, and if we didn't, concede 3 goals to Atletico's pitch in the first leg, this could have been a tie that we might have even gone through in.
Dustin, let's stay with you for a second, because let's talk about the week that we've had, and it has been a very positive week. As Ricky said there, a lot of people, including us, were saying, how can Igor Tudor continue in his position? First 4 games, 4 defeats. We were all saying, where are the points coming from? Ricky also said it was a very unexpected point at Anfield, which, look at our record. 2 wins in the last 40 years, but Spurs showed grit and desire and character at the weekend. Many people will say, don't get carried away. I completely agree. But that point has been such a positive point. And since that game has finished, every Spurs fan has felt that there has been a lot of positivity. And now, what we saw tonight as well, do you have real belief now that Spurs will turn it around and Spurs will stay in the Premier League and we will start seeing more wins and more points picked up?
So I think to caveat it as well is that we have to be aware that Tudor came into a pretty ridiculous position, right? With like basically 13 players injured, and I think I counted it was like maybe 7 or 8 first team players injured when he came in. His first game was North London derby. He had red cards to Romero and Van der Ven to contend with. So he had a decimated squad. He had his captains getting sent off. So I don't think even the best coach in the world and I'm not saying that he is, but even if you put Pep there or Klopp there, he will look at that situation and go, what do you want me to do? So, for what it's worth, he came into a very difficult situation. He's turned it around somewhat. I mean, we have to see whether it works in the league, because Champions League results, I think we have to take slightly separately, because, motivation's different, the crowd is different, playing under the lights is a different atmosphere. But, we've got you've got fan groups organizing around the game as well. We're going to welcome the team coach. I think we're just building up a head of steam where we're all pulling together. The fans are, making a concerted effort to make sure the team knows that we're supporting them through this difficult time as well. So I feel like these dominoes are falling, and we're getting the right momentum that we need to make a fist of this. If we perform the way we did tonight against, the Premier League opposition in the rest of our remaining games, they might play differently. They might have, a different kind of play. They might, sit behind two banks of four. But this is the kind of creative play that we've been crying out for the entire season. And if we keep this up, I can only see good things happening, better performances, and hopefully results that come with it as well.
We're now going to hear from Igor Tudor for the next 7.5 minutes. This is post-match press conference. Ricky, straight after this, we'll come to you and get your reaction on Igor Tudor's comments, and then we'll go around each of the guests tonight and get your thoughts on what he has said about today's performance, and what have you made of his time so far at Spurs?
I know Spurs are out, but were you very happy with that performance? The fans have gone home very happy tonight. What's your thoughts?
That's nice. That's nice. The sensation and feeling are mixed. Of course, we are out, but the same way as you said, was like sensation of one very good team in the pitch. One very good performance of the players. Energy, as you said before, was really nice. From first moment, they recognize that the team will try to do everything what they can do. So from first moment until last moment, they were with us. Beautiful. Thanks.
I don't like to talk about individuals, but I have to tonight. Archie Gray, what a performance. What did you make of him?
I agree. He's the guy. You know the positions he play everywhere. So probably this position in the middle is, I believe, the best one for him. But he's playing continually in the right way, in a good way. It's a mix of quality, physically and mentally, to choose to always do the right choices and be humble and have legs to do so. So he need to continue this. He's still young, so every day he need to be a new confirmation. Together with Pape, I see them very well. There is a quality into these two players. They make last two games. They really made a difference. But also, I think Xavi was very good. Happy for him. He showed the talent. It was not easy, to play in there in the middle, where it's always difficult. In the front, Matis also beautiful things. Kolo as well behind. So it was a sensation that even we can make it. When was the foul on Xavi? Referee didn't give us obviously foul. That little bit changed the game. But as I said before, we take a good direction as a team, and we need to continue.
There you go. That attacking movement that was there tonight, you created a lot of chances. What's clicked now? What do you feel? They feel like they're confident they can score goals again, your team?
Yeah, you get work, and then there is a game who show what we work. The players, what was the key? They believe that we can pass. So they really believed that was the key. After 1-0 more, unfortunately, what I said happened at the goal. But okay, as I said before, the performance in this moment where we are, it's very important that they happen. This kind of performance after 3 days after Liverpool.
Obviously you had other chances to score that you could have done, but how important was that Atletico first goal and the foul on Xavi?
Yeah, well, for me it was a key. It was obviously foul on there, but okay, this is how it.
Hi Igor. It was obviously a difficult first few results for you, but but you worked a lot with the team. Do you feel like you're starting to see the sort of fruits of your labours now with the way the team are playing?
Of course, the last 2 games we improved, but as I said, the games two games before was not impossible. It's not impossible to judge these 2 games because when what happened 20 minutes is Madrid. There is nothing about coach, team, tactic, trainings. There is about nothing. I believe Crystal Palace game before we have 1-0, totally control of the game, red card. So as well, nothing about But in football, you need to confirmation every day, every Sunday. So there is on Sunday important game, as we know, but it will not decide nothing yet. As I said before, it will be decide everything last 2-3 games, I believe.
We know that Tottenham won't be in Europe next season from the way the league table is, so this could be the last European fixture for a while. But looking at the quality that your team showed today and the players in the squad, do you have sort of confidence that it won't be that long before Tottenham are back in Europe?
No, why should be next year? No, year after that can go again. Why not? Winning this trophy last season gave confidence to the players for sure, so they feel like a European competition. No, because as you know, it's totally different if you have this experience in European competition with with a lot of players who win that. So this gave you more confidence when you play these European competition games. So we saw this even today. When you win, when are you UEFA Cup winner, and you come to play today, you feel strong. So they show this in the pitch from first moment. So after seeing today, there is even more. How I can say this? Question about the first game. If it didn't happen, that what happened. That I believe we have a good chance to pass against Atletico Madrid. Even I need to repeat that today we have again 11 players, and on the bench just 1 player. 1 player is Danso, so on the bench, and all 3 players, Bergwall, Udogie, and Connor. Doctor said they can play at least maximum 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So you have only Danso as a substitute. You play against 11 plus Danso in this kind of the game. And I don't count these 2 young players. So imagine the situation. Imagine the value of this victory here. So you need to make a programmation of substitute. What happens if someone is out, you don't have midfielder? How we can deal with Bergwall, with Connor? So it's a really particular moment, but it's how it's here in Tottenham better than me with this kind of injuries, and then so that's the value of this performance even bigger because of these things.
George. Igor, it's felt like losing has become a habit for this team for such a long time. How important was it for the team to feel that feeling of winning again before Sunday's game?
I agree. It was important. That's why I was angry about counter-attack. Last minute, we go with 9. I get a little bit angry there because, when it's last minute, at least you wanted to take this. But I understand the players, they wanted to score a goal. So, but it was nice in the end, at least take the victory. What you said, important also for the little bit of morale. Yeah?
And I know that it's more about sort of fighting and belief than systems and tactics, but it feels like you've kind of landed on the 4-4-2 system that seems to suit the players and has got these 2 good results.
We will see. It's more other things than system, of course, but especially in this moment, is more the system is a mentality. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
You know what? I really starting to like Igor Tudor. I like his honesty. I like the fact that he likes the boys to step up. I like that he gave us big credit as well in what he was saying. Not only was it the 11 out on the pitch tonight, but it was Danso only as a fit option today, and the rest could only do 20-25 minutes. So it was even more so of an important win tonight. And we've seen adaptability. We've seen him start to understand his players, learn his players, start to figure out where is their best positions and start playing them in those best positions. But he's also challenged them. And if we look at Xavi's performance tonight, Xavi's not been in the starting lineup the last couple of games, but he's come in tonight. Champions League, massive hill to climb. You're put in that creative hub. We know how bad it's been all season. It's been the whole team. It's not just been a creative thing, as in on Xavi's shoulders, but it's been ultimately the whole 11 has not been playing confidently or with any kind of, I don't know, any structure or any. They haven't been playing football for so long. So to put him in there tonight to go, all right, and cool, look, you've not played the last 2 games, but go out there and show me who you are. Go out there and show the world who you are tonight. And he was popping it in and out, in and around the field tonight. One-touch passing, linking up with Tell on the left, Gray in the middle, Kolo as well, done so well. And for the boss there to kind of give his assessment and make sure that in the press that they big us up today, even though on aggregate we're out, that was a big win. And I think it's an important message to send to the boys as well, that was a massive win. It was more so that performance. And it doesn't matter about system right now. It doesn't matter about, it's more about that mentality. It's more about that will to risk, that will to win as well. What did you make of it, Leigh?
I mean, on a personal level, I think he's a hard guy to love. He's a bit like Nuno and Stellini had a weird baby. But it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what I think. It really doesn't matter, because there is a style over substance thing happening here. And up until this point, all we've had is what's been presented to us, which is, let's face it, some pretty poor performances before Liverpool, square pegs in round holes from a team selection, and a manager who struggles to communicate, doesn't inspire a great deal in either in terms of the fan base or maybe the players, based on what we see in interviews. He's very low energy, bad English, all that. But it doesn't matter if what he is now doing is getting a tune, and it clearly is. There's no debate. He's getting a tune. So whether, it's very easy probably, and I'm as guilty as anyone for defaulting to this of, I don't like this, I don't like that, therefore the guy's going to fail. I was definitely down for replacing him after Palace. And just because we're panicking, let's face it, we're panicking. We're like, we can't afford another 4 games for this to continue. But the guy's got a tune, and whether it's because of him or in spite of him, doesn't matter. They're playing and they're fighting and they're running. And maybe they don't like him. Maybe they do like him. We don't know. But we've all had bosses sometimes that you don't like, and you go, I'll show you. And you put that extra yard in. And this is a results business. And given where we are in the league, it's only about results, performances that lead to results. So I think I said last time, I hope I'm wrong about him. And I say again, I hope I'm wrong about him, because I want him to succeed. And if we carry on like this, we will succeed. So fair play to Igor Tudor, even if even listening to his press conferences, I find quite difficult. And even like he stormed down the tunnel. There's all these kind of like maybe superficial things that annoy me. But deep down, does it really matter? If he's getting a result, doesn't matter.
Did he got it right tonight, though, didn't he? Do you know, formation-wise, lineup-wise, tactic-wise?
I was surprised about Dragusin, but, but maybe that's a better place for him, because in the middle of the park, he's not a great ball player. So if he's playing a sort of pseudo right back, right centre half, basically he's just got to tackle people and like get it down the line pretty much. He wasn't bringing it into midfield and playing like you would expect someone maybe to do. So I think he got it. I think he got it right. I think he got it absolutely right. But probably more important, as Dustin was saying, is people were turning and playing. People were running. There were second balls that we were fighting for. There were overlaps. So, there's an awful lot that he's to be commended for. I will say he called it out. because I'm definitely in the camp of VAR hates Tottenham, because I think they just do. Even Kieran Trippier tonight, if you saw that, I like Kieran Trippier, but if you saw that hand pull back, how compared to the Van de Ven one, how that's a yellow, maybe there's some reason why, but I can't see it. But I thought there was a definite foul on Simons. I think it was Simons, and that led to Alvarez led to the goal. So I think I think Tudor was right to call that out. But anyway, I'll shut up. Yeah, I did. Look, fair play to him.
How did you feel about it, Dustin? His press conference, the way he's going on, the result he got tonight, his tactics, what he said in that press conference. How are you feeling about Tudor right now?
From a press conference perspective, I think that he has kind of like the vibe of a manager that's very irritated with stupid questions. And I think that, for a manager from the continent, right, that's not used to the why do you keep asking me about my job? Like that, ask the people above me. I can't, there's nothing I can tell you about my job that I know better than you do. So it's just he's just being rage baited by quote unquote journalists that are just out for clicks, and I think that he was right to call it out. I think that he speaks plainly. He isn't the cuddliest character, but that's not what we need. Like I said, when we get him in, he's the guy that brings the body bags and cleans the crime scene. So essentially, what you're looking at is a person that's brought in to fix a problem. That's why he doesn't, stay out there clapping fans or anything like that. And how Frank was doing that, and that didn't work out too well for him, because the fans made it very pointed that we're not booing the team, we're booing you, right? So I think that there are a number of players that we had given up on, right? That were like, there were a number of people that were saying this is not, these players are uncoachable. But in that first 11, and even among the substitutes, I couldn't think of a single bad performance. They had bad moments, right, where we conceded that corner, which was a gut punch. But, Spence was conceded that corner, but he also made that last-ditch tackle at the end. Vicario, we've had issues with him for weeks, but he pulled off like 3 world-class saves, right? Porro, we've had issues with him, but he played very well tonight. I've had issues with Dragusin, but Dragusin played very well tonight as well. So I really can't think of any player that didn't play out of their skin tonight, both from an effort perspective, but not just blind effort, but they also played well. Archie Gray was amazing, and Tell played very well. Although if he had just passed instead of shooting early on, this might have been a completely different game. So there are just so many bright spots to look at. It wasn't perfect, we're still out, but considering where we were 2 games ago, and how we were staring down the face of relegation thinking there's no way out, what a difference 2 relatively decent results make. And I made a lot of wrong predictions this season, but there were 2 predictions that I talked about, which was like the impact of relegation battle with Richarlison, and that we're more likely to get good results against the better teams that attack us than teams that sit back and want us to break them down. So I think that while I take a lot of heart from this result, I know that the games in the league, especially against teams that are in our position like Forest and everything, they're going to be a bit different, because we're not going to be playing teams that are going to want to possess the ball and going to want to attack us. I think that we've shown some heart in this game, and that will stand us in good stead. But the game situation and the way that the teams will set up against us will be completely different in the league. But this is momentum, this is belief, and the players can use this as a stepping stone to up their performances to get us out of trouble.
You mentioned Tell passing, right? In hindsight, or in that beautiful move through Archie Gray to what? Who was it? Porro, and then no, it was Xavi. It was Xavi, and then back out to Tell. And yes, yes, we all would have loved him to have passed it. But you know what? What a difference a week, 10 days can make. Because I look at that Liverpool game. There was a point where Tell was running down the wing and he needed somebody to pass to, right? He needed somebody to pass to, but there was nobody. So he ended up having to take it by himself, get crowded out by 3 Liverpool players. The move gets broken down. And then as the camera pans, you see like 3 players that were jogging up to catch him are now jogging up, but now they're running back to now defend. So there wasn't any passing outlets, right? But today there was passing outlets, and you know the fact that Tell is making things happen. He's taking on a man. How many times have we wanted a winger to take on their man 1-on-1, to beat him, to pass him, to knock it round him? So he's getting more confidence. And look, he's not the finished article right now, but my goodness, like at least he's doing something, and he's allowing the team to have a creative and improvisational spark as well, Dustin. Do you know what I mean?
Let's move on. Leigh, let's come to you. Let's talk a little bit about the starting 11 today. Igor Tudor went with a 4-4-2 today. Now, in number order, I know Ricky absolutely hates the number order.
Can't stand it.
Me too.
Vicario, Dragusin, Xavi Simons, Tell, Gray, Romero as captain, Pedro Porro, Spence, Sarr, Van der Ven and Kolo Muani. The sub-bench this evening, Kinski, Austin, Danso, Udogi, Bergval, Gallagher, Olasesi, Kiamatin and Rosewell. What do you make of the starting 11 today? And bearing in mind as well that you know, we'd only just played on Sunday against Liverpool. Of course, we've got this crunch game coming up against Nottingham Forest. Did you expect a lot more players rested? Did you expect a lot more development players perhaps coming into this team?
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I agree with Ricky. It's sort of like doing a horrible bit of mental arithmetic before it starts. And I couldn't, the curse of watching it on TV is you don't instantly see what the formation is. And the commentators here in the US kept saying he was playing 3 at the back, and I was like, doesn't look like it. I think my only surprise, given that we knew that Dom had failed a fitness test and Richie was suspended, I think, was Dragusin, just because I think Danso's been so great. But then I remind myself Danso just come back from an injury in the recent weeks, and I think he's been one of our form players, and we're going to need him on the weekend. So actually, you know, when you're out, we were talking about Tudor. I think he got it right. I don't know what else he could have done differently, really. So I think he got it absolutely bang on.
Dustin, I know you want to talk about the starting 11.
Yeah, I think that there are a number of things that were, you know, I think Tudor's basically had his hand forced by injuries, more or less. There was some misprofiling that we all talked about, which is like, you know, playing Porro as a right centre-back. But I think part of it as well was that at the point that he played Porro, I think our centre-backs were Dragusin and was it Paulinho? So I suspect that he needed someone that could pass the ball in the back line, and that's maybe why he played him as a centre-back, because as much as, you know, Porro isn't the best player to have in that position, if you don't have any centre-backs that can pass the ball, then, you know, we are stuck with punting it long and then having to win second balls. So while he's misprofiled players and, you know, played, you know, Gallagher at right wing and a bunch of other things, he has been dropped into a situation where he's like, how many fit players do I have? In the Liverpool game, he named like, you know, 2 goalkeepers and a bunch of U-team players, and still did manage to fill the subs bench. So I think that, you know, we have to take into context that the larger problem has been above his pay grade, where the squad was not built and we didn't make stressed purchases in the January window, and that's the big reason where in the strife that we're in, he is trying to work miracles and MacGyver his way to the end of the season. So I think we have to take all of that in context. And while he's had, you know, the worst starting run of any manager in our history, he's also had an unprecedented injury crisis, extremely bad squad building, and you know, started with a North London derby, and, you know, basically got a point in one of the ties that we didn't expect any points from. So for what it's worth, I think that he has at least, at least performed in the league and in the Champions League. And he's done it against Liverpool, so I would like to see him do it against a team that isn't setting out to attack us. And if he can do it against Forest, that would set a good precedent and put us in good stead for the rest of the season.
Ricky, let's come to you. Before we get on to the match incidents, I just wanted to mention the Tottenham Hotspur supporters, the crowd tonight at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I posted a video just on kickoff, and the place was absolutely electric. And it's fair to say that it wasn't a full stadium. There were a lot of empty seats, but you wouldn't know it because the atmosphere was incredible ahead of kickoff. And, when the ball was kicked, that roar, and we haven't heard that many times this season. It was unbelievable. And I'm going to mention this because Pedro Porro is the latest player to write on Instagram about how good the fans were. Igor Tudor has gone in the press conference as well and said about it, and various interviews after the match as well. The fans have just been fantastic. Given the position and how difficult this season has been, the fans have been awesome.
Oh my goodness, mate. Unbelievable. Best fans in the world, my friend. I think that a lot of the fans have been almost taken out of context, and we've been kind of put this toxic tag on. There's been many a boo. Yes, there has been many a boo. Yes, there has been many a back and forth. But the football has been terrible, and we're trying to hold them. We're trying to pick them up. We're trying to raise the standard. We're trying to give them a bar to achieve, to raise their chin above and try and motivate them, try and get us to give us something that we can cheer about. I don't know. Look, not one Tottenham fan wants to sit there and just be totally negative about their team. You can only say what you see and say what you feel, right? And especially on pods like this, nobody wants to do that. But they haven't given us anything, and there is a lot of problems. There's a load of problems. But to come back round and to kind of give us some hope, and the fans have given them boys this hope. You look at when we played the Gooners, the crowd were absolutely up for it. They were cheering every tackle. They were cheering every pass. When it went flat, they tried to pick them up. Palace was the same. Every time it went flat, they tried to pick them up, even though we went down to 10 men. And then when it got to the point where it almost felt like everybody gave up, that's when a lot of the fans kicked. When it was 3-1 and you're just going, it's collapsed at half time, that's when some of the fans left. And you know what? I respect the fans that left as well. I respect the fans that stayed, and I respect the fans that left, because at that point we wasn't being given nothing, but yet those fans still turn up and they still try to get them going. It's got to the point, and Leigh mentioned this earlier, about rock bottom. The most important thing about rock bottom, I say this in life, right? Rock bottom is not as bad as you think. And I know it is, but it's not as bad as you think. The one thing that you have to do at rock bottom is recognize that you're there. And in the moment that you can do that, you can shed the weight that got you there and pulled you down to that moment in the first place, and start climbing the mountain lighter, but with more experience, and learning the lessons that got you there in the first place. You can get, you can get higher and achieve more. And it's the same with these boys, and it's the same with Tudor. It's got to this point where it felt like the not even the Tottenham curse, but a world's curse was on us, because no VAR, no ref decisions. It felt like everything was against us. We get 3 slips against Atletico last week. You can just feel like everything is collapsing, that we're sinking, and especially without a fight. But the fans kept going. And you know what? Even though that there was a potential protest to start with this weekend, it's now turned into a motivation to kind of get there and cheer them on and give them that atmosphere and make them feel like kings going into that into battle in the Colosseum that is Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and it's just turned around so much, and it's just so beautiful to see. Not only that point being gained and the away fans being rewarded, because you, Chris, you go to every game home and away. there hasn't been much to celebrate, and especially at Anfield. So you go away, you get that gets everybody up. You go, okay, cool, we got it over the line. You go into tonight, and from minute one, when you see that performance, when you see that energy, when you see that high press, when you see that running, when you see that desire, when you see that confidence to go and play and to put the game plan in, and it doesn't matter about the opposition, it matters about us. Tonight it wasn't about Atletico, it was about us, and that's the first time that I've seen that in ages, bro. And that as well was to do with the fans, because again, with the mountain to climb, they were still there and they still roared and they still sent them off. Do you know what I mean? And kept them going. The whistling in between, everything. What a beautiful first half to go off to claps and cheers. That's the first time in ages at half time the boys have gone off to claps and cheers, mate. So the fans have been absolutely amazing, and everybody around the world as well. I know those that are shouting at their TV. I know those that are online socials. You know, everybody that are doing their thing. We're all coming together at this point around the world. We're all sending our energy and this will to kind of go into battle and give ourselves a fighting chance. And you know what, Tottenham, Liverpool, and tonight you've shown us that not only do we have a chance, but you're up for this fight, and that's all we needed to see. Now that's going to give every single fan on Sunday an ultimate jolt. If it wasn't going to be fireworks on Sunday, well, now it's going to be like some serious fireworks, mate. You know, like it's going to be kicking off, and those boys are going to feel it. And for the first time in a long time, I don't feel like we're going down. I feel like we're in this battle. I feel that we can do it. I feel that we can show up. And I feel that we can play in the Tottenham way that we did tonight, that we played football and continue this. This could be the click. This could be the spark that we've all been waiting for. And thank goodness we saw it tonight.
What a difference a week makes, indeed.
Ooh,
yeah,
crazy, crazy, bro.
Leigh, let's come to you. Let's start talking about the game itself. Now, after just 7 minutes, we thought that Lookman had given Atletico Madrid a 1-0 lead. Now, this on screen is the visual of Lookman offside. Very clear. Now, after 10 minutes, Matisse Tel had Tottenham's first shot on target from 20 yards. I must say, this was comfortable for the goalkeeper, this shot, but Matisse Tel this evening, he wasn't afraid to shoot, was he?
Exactly. And as we said earlier, maybe a couple of times he might have squared it. But I think with a player like him, he's just got to keep going. He's just got to keep trying. And it's before, perhaps we were a little bit too scared to shoot from anywhere under the previous regime. But I'd rather see people having a go. And yeah, that shot wasn't the best, but he had a couple of shots later on that were pushing. And I think also he was up against a really good player on his side. And the fact that he just basically communicated his will and his intent that Brendan Johnson, love him or hate him, but he 99 times out of 100 would pass back to the fullback. Matisse Tel at least was like, I'm going to go. And yeah, he lost it a couple of times, maybe a touch too many, but he's like, maybe I want a corner, maybe I want to throw, maybe I have a shot. So the first shot wasn't great, but I think it at least was a statement of intent.
Yeah. Dustin, let's come to you. A couple of minutes later, Atletico Madrid had a shot which was blocked following a corner. On 14 minutes, Atletico Madrid's player Llorente, good skill, crossed it in. It was cleared by the Tottenham Hotspur defence. On 22 minutes, Tottenham had a chance. Radu Dragusin headed down to Matisse Tel. He shot first time at goalkeeper, and this one again was 20 yards out. 4 minutes later, Tel, good run, past his man, got a shot in. It was an acute angle, goalkeeper saved. What have you made of Matisse Tel in a Spurs shirt, particularly this season and under Igor Tudor? Because I say that to Leigh about him shooting first time and not being afraid to shoot. I felt like there is a number of players this season that have been afraid to shoot. So this is a really encouraging sign, particularly from a young player and particularly from a player that has, in fairness, been criticised by a number of people in our own fan base.
Say what you want about Matisse Tel, but he backs himself, right? So no matter how he has been dropped, no matter how, multiple coaches have, tried to coach the maverick out of him, He's 19. He's not gonna do what you tell him to do necessarily. I don't think it means it's uncoachable. I think it just means that he looks at what the team needs and he wants to provide that thrust. So if the team is not creating, and if it means that he has to dribble 3 people to do it, he will try to do it. And that sometimes is wasteful when the team could be more productive. There were times that he could have passed tonight, and there were 2 players in the far post, Muani and Xavi, that might have had, no, it was Gray and Xavi, Gray and Muani that would have had an open goal in front of him. But if he doesn't dribble, we don't even get in the position to begin with. So for what it's worth, he has been during Frank's reign, often the only player that would play in a attacking manner that would create chances, and was often dropped for it. So I think that it's good to see him get his flowers and finally play in a team where other teammates are showing for him, trying to be there to latch onto balls that he crosses into the box, and actually be a complement to the attacking threat that he presents. There are times that he gets a bit Lucas Moura, where he gets his head down and just dribbles into a cul-de-sac. But I think that we're getting to a point now where his teammates are looking at the chances he's creating, and a lot of it is, if sometimes his teammates aren't in those positions because they don't think anything can happen. But I think they've seen him do it enough times. They're like, if Tel has the ball, I should be in a position to make something of it, because he might just do something crazy and create chances for us. So we need more of what Tel's been doing, and now we see Archie Gray doing it as well, including the chance that was created when he did the croqueta to get past the player. Of course you do it against the Spanish team.
Ricky, let's come to you. On the same subject of Matisse Tel, it was him that actually put the cross in for Kolo Muani to put Spurs 1-0 up after 30 minutes. It was a truly wonderful ball from him. And of course, it was a fantastic header as well. And interestingly, no team have conceded more headed goals in the Champions League this season than Atletico Madrid. And that was the 5th of this current campaign. But what a ball in from Matisse Tel. This is exactly what we want to see more of, isn't it, from him? And that attacking intent and shooting as well. But what a fantastic finish from Muani as well.
A fantastic finish from Muani. Got up, got his neck muscles right round it, mate. Got his forehead on it, and power and accuracy tonight. But the ball from Tel, switching to the right-hand side as well, having the freedom to be able to go over there and drift over there and find the pocket of space, nick the ball, and then cross it in. And it's a beautiful ball. He's got a great cross on him, whether it's a corner or a cross. He does have a good cross on him. He does normally find his guy. So yeah, fantastic assist from Tel. But you know what? You look at Tel, and he has been treated so badly by Thomas Fraud. Think about it. Think about how long we was looking for a left winger. Think about how many times Tel was fit. Think about how many times he came on and was positive, and then, like Dustin said, was dropped. He was the first player to score a goal from open play in what was it? Either 10 games or 10 hours under Frank. And then he scores that. He has a nice little, and then he gets dropped again. And Tel's already said, that in an interview in France that him and Thomas fell out because Thomas wanted him to do one thing, and he was like, "Well, no, that ain't my game." And then, but after that, he didn't even want to talk about it. He didn't want to converse about it. He didn't want to work it out. He was just like, "Right, you're over there then." So he's been mistreated so bad. You got to remember as well, in January, there was rumors about him going out on loan and him wanting to go out on loan because he didn't think that he was going to get any time. And there was rumors of us buying a winger with our £150 million sitting in the bank. But we know that didn't happen. So he still wasn't getting an opportunity, still wasn't getting a chance. Well, at least he's got that chance. And you know what? He's still there. He done this last year as well when the crowd, I think it was at Bournemouth, was having a go at Ange. He stood up and he was like, guys, like, please, calm, be calm. Look, we're trying. We need you. I remember him saying, like, we need you, like, to the crowd. So he done that last year, and he stepped up again this year. Yes, look, he should have passed, but you know what? I like the fact that he had the confidence to take the shot. You know, for him to get that first shot or on target tonight, that was a like Leigh was saying earlier, I think it was, but that was an intent. That was to show intent. Like, come on, boys, we're gonna go for this. We're gonna get shots on target. We're gonna create chances. We're gonna make it happen. And everybody was encouraged tonight. Kolo was fantastic tonight as well. So there was a lot of really good aspects, but I think that Tel is one of those that we've needed for a long time. He's been mistreated, but you know what? He's still stuck around, and he stood up. And we've needed players in this madness to stand up. And I'm happy he had a fantastic game tonight. Yes, he didn't score, but you know what? He's saving the goals for Forest on Sunday, and I'll have that. I'll take that. Thank you very much.
Dustin, I know that you want to talk about Matisse Tel and the miss in the 35th minute. It was a really good move from Tottenham, and this is exactly the type of football that all of us Spurs fans want to see, particularly at home at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But he did shoot straight at the goalkeeper. What have you made of these chances that he had? And you know, even 7 minutes after this, he had another shot from 20 yards. He tried to go for the bottom right corner. Goalkeeper made a good save.
Yeah, we're here for Dustin's slides. Let's have a look.
Yeah, wait, not that one. The one named slides.
I thought that said how to build a slide. I promise you, it made me chuckle. Sorry.
Sorry, not that one. Not that one. The other one. Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, this is the one there. So you can see that they're onside. But to be fair, he's got someone closing him down. He's got, the keeper, 2 players. So if you have sight of goal, sometimes as a striker, you can't expect him to always make the right decision at his age. And, it's his endeavor that gets us in that position to begin with. So for what it's worth, he should just keep doing what he's doing. And there'll be times that we'll be frustrated with him. But honestly, we've just seen what happens when we have Brennan Johnson, who finishes well but doesn't take his man on. At least Tel takes his man on. Tel always tries to give his fullback a difficult time, and that creates more chances for us, pulls players out of position, gives more space to the central players because they get pulled over to Tel, and it creates space for the rest of the team in general. So I don't have anything bad to say about Tel. He can have better end product, but he'll just get better. He's 21.
Yeah, absolutely. Leigh, let's come to you. A minute before the half-time break, Atletico Madrid had a shot from 30 yards. It was deflected over the bar. And then seconds before the half-time break, Vicario made a wonderful save. It was deflected as well. Dustin's put the picture on the screen here. An unbelievable save. And it's fair to say that Vicario made a number of good saves today and kept us in the game. And certainly, I don't think we would have won the game if it wasn't for him.
Yeah, this is what we want to see from him. Yeah, what a shot that is. What we want to see from him is when it comes to kicking, like you pass to someone who's unmarked or frankly go long, like it's when he starts messing around that he looks terrible. But as a shot stopper, he's right up there. And some of the agility tonight. So perhaps, Tudor's given him some clarity in what he wants from him, because I thought it was a really strong performance, and I haven't been a fan of his. But when you keep things simple and you know what your role is in the team, he performed, and you've got to give him credit, because a couple of those saves were, worldies. I mean, there's certainly 2 of them I think were deflected, which for a goalkeeper is a nightmare. So I think you got to give him credit. I think he did really well, and it's distribution. There was one where he put Spence under pressure towards the end, where Spence had like 3 people on him, and then he lost it. Could have been a goal. But other than that, I think he was pretty faultless.
Leigh, of course, Spurs went in at the break 1-0 up. What were you thinking at that point? And as Ricky said rightly, that the Spurs fans were applauding the players off at the halftime break. I always love to see that. I always love to see the players and the love from the fans as well. And that's how it should be.
Yeah, I wrote down two words actually, just which are kind of sound a bit pretentious, but I wrote down hope and I wrote down pride, because even just hearing the singing, it's a long time since I've been at the ground, but I'm one of those guys who always got a bit teary when the fans got full voice, and to hear that again, and we've had so long of this sort of desperation. When Ricky was talking, there's some of this which is about desperation. We're a fan base that doesn't really know how to react, and we've been in acceptance and anger for so long. With denial and anger, I should say, and we've finally got to acceptance, which is like we're in a terrible place, and we've rallied. As Rick was saying, the players have given the fans something to get behind, but also I think the fans with the. I think from what I understand, like not protesting, saying, look, it's all in. Like then you've basically unleashed like a really positive, there's a lot of, people talk about toxicity, but there's a lot of incredible love in the fan base for this team. And if you unleash that, it's going to be pretty unstoppable. So just to hear that at halftime, really, really made me feel super warm. And like, I was like, after this, like, I hope the second half's decent, but that first half was as good as anything I've seen in a long time.
Leigh, do you think that a lot of fans have been quite harsh on players, particularly on social media this season? Or do you think that is just the way the world is now of that harsh criticism? Because although, the position that we're in right now, and as you guys have already mentioned about the support for the team ahead of Sunday's game, that crucial, crunch game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this Sunday against Forest, this is exactly what the team need right now. They need supporting. But when you look at this season and you see, the results, the performances haven't been good enough. A lot of people have been criticised online, particularly the players. Mickey van der Ven in the press conference yesterday saying that he doesn't look at his phone now. Do you think that people have been too harsh on these players?
Yes, and look, what I don't know is if this is a sort of endemic issue across football. I don't know how the Chelsea fans are reacting to what happened to them and what's happening with their coach, because I don't follow them and I don't care. So I don't know if it's us or if it's across football and it's the whole keyboard warriors and poison online and people being sort of anonymous. So I don't have a sense on that, but I do know that it can't help, right? What you think privately about a player, whether you have a favorite or someone you can't stand, the idea that you constantly berate them in the sort of digital forum and think that they might never hit, because even if they don't read it, people they know are probably going to read it, say you're getting some pelters. Whether it's a commentator or whether it's a player, it can't help. But I don't think that should dissuade from the fact that we have a right to be critical. And up to this point, there's been more reasons to be critical. So we shouldn't sugarcoat it and pretend. But I think one of the best examples in recent years that a lot of people draw attention to is how the Everton fans were on more than one occasion, but particularly when Richie was there, and how, players like Andros Townsend said, we were rubbish, but it actually was the fans who kept us up. And I think it may have taken us a time to get to where we are. We've had to go on our journey. We're mad, but now I think we're there, and hopefully, Sunday is just going to be a continuation of that. So you shouldn't. I don't want to hear any of that hate. I think at this point, it's not even about being constructive. Actually, I think at this point we just got to go all in and get behind the guys.
Yeah, well said. Dustin, let's come to you. 2 minutes after the break, Atletico Madrid equalised, making it 1-1. Alvarez scoring, assisted by Lookman. Right-footed shot, top corner. What did you make of it?
Oh, it was a gut punch. I think that, the thing about Atletico Madrid was that they didn't have much possession. But when they did have possession, what they did very well was they dictated the tempo. And that means that if we were up attacking them and out of position, they attacked us very fast in numbers, which is how they scored this goal. But if we were set in our defense, they dictated tempo by slowing the game down, practically to the point of deserving yellow cards for how long they would take with set pieces, or their goalkeeper taking goal kicks, or even going down for fouls. So you could say it's part of their manager and their dark arts, but they know how to manage a game. So for what it's worth, Alvarez just had a worldie where he bundled Xavi off the ball and raced up there and finished it. And I think we also conceded in the first leg to similar kinds of goals. So it's a weapon that they have. It's something that we should be aware of when we start playing teams in the league, because that's how they will look to find us out as well. And that is an element of Tudor's game which can be risky, because he does like to press high and he does like to play a high line. So, and he does like to play man-to-man. So my concern about the league games would be when our centre-backs play man-to-man and they press up very high, we are more likely to have centre-backs out of position when balls are played in over the top, and when we are playing against teams that have fast wingers or strikers that can punish us.
Dustin, let's stay with you, because Tottenham restored their lead just 5 minutes later after conceding. Xavi Simons, of course, got this goal in the 52nd minute. Now, Xavi Simons tonight had 4 shots, scored 2 goals, had 77 touches in the match, 41 accurate passes, and 89% passing accuracy. Hasn't had much game time under Igor Tudor, but certainly took his opportunity tonight.
Yeah, indeed. He had the most touches, most passes in final third, most duels won, most possessions won, most chances created, and most goals as well, right? So he had a complete performance today. And I know that there were some games where fans were frustrated with him for giving the ball away, and a lot of people were like, get him out of my club, right? But the thing about Xavi Simons is that you cannot deny his will to win. When everyone else in the team, after Sank was sacked and everyone else got leave, right? He was one player that stayed at the lodge and was weight training when everyone else had leave to go on holiday. So he has the mentality. He was, went up through the Barcelona system, La Masia, everything. I think that you need to have some patience with him as a creative player. And as a young player, he will make mistakes. But this is a player that you can build a team around. He's still in his first season in the league in the most dysfunctional squad that we've seen for decades. So to do what he's doing in this squad with the number of injuries that we have, as the sole creative player, dribbler and passer, because Maddison and Kulusevski are out, it is a heavy burden for someone that's new to the league. And if this is the performance you're getting from him in his first season, imagine when he matures, imagine when he builds up his strength, imagine when he gets familiar with the league. There's so much more. His ceiling is so high, and we should just have patience with him. He will come good.
Ricky, would you like to add anything about Xavi Simons?
Listen, I agree with everything that Dustin said there, man, about Xavi. There's so much that can come from him. I think tonight was one of those that, that announced him on the world stage in a Tottenham shirt. And I really hope he takes that confidence, that swagger, because not only was he popping it around one touch and stuff like that, there was times where he took the ball and dribbled through the middle and created havoc doing that. And it's been so long since we've had a team that has been able to express himself. And today, Tudor got his tactics right. He got his team selection right. And he challenged Xavi. Xavi hasn't been in the start. I was saying to the boys earlier, Xavi hasn't been in the starting lineup for the last couple of games. So he's put it to him. So he's gone, all right, and cool, with a mountain to climb, come in, Xavi, do what you do. And you could tell that the intention from the team, from the start, was to go out there and win not only win, but to qualify for the next round. They were playing to qualify for the next round. They wasn't playing just to win at home. They were disappointed with the win at home. You saw them. They were heartbroken that they went out tonight, even though they had such a fantastic performance. We know how many... They should have been 2-3 up in the first half. They should have gone in 3 goals up at least in the first half. Yes, Atletico had chances, but it was like the wind was in our sails, you know, like Vicario was making those type of saves and everything was kind of going our way at that point. So those boys were disappointed about going out of the Champions League tonight, but they went in with the will to play. They not only did they went in with the will to play, the will to win, but the will to express themselves. You know, they had the confidence to express themselves. Archie expressed himself today. It wasn't structured. It wasn't, 2 + 2 = 4. It was he was allowed to do his job, but then express. Tell allowed to express. Xavi allowed to express. Kolo allowed to express. Porro. It went throughout the side, and it was for the first time. Even the way they just passed the ball today was with assurance, was with confidence, was like knowing that they could give a pass and get it back. How many times did we see a couple of give and goes tonight? First time in ages, and consistently for 95 minutes, those boys went out there and they never stopped. Fantastic attitude from all of them, and you could tell that Xavi himself was heartbroken that we didn't do it tonight. But fantastic to see from the boys, and I really do hope that this is the spark and the fire within them to take it into the rest of the cup finals in the rest of the league. But you know what? There's one thing, Chris, that I'd ask you and the lads. The last couple of games, I've seen us, and maybe Dustin's the one for this, but I've seen us like run more, right? I've seen more energy in this team. I've seen us run more. I've seen us be on our toes more. Tonight was the culmination. We was pressing high, and for long periods of the game, we wanted the game to be quicker. We was taking quicker throw-ins. But for all of the things that Thomas Ford said, he kept saying during these press conferences was, yes, we need to run. Yes, we need to run. Yes, we need to run. And look, he didn't even get that right. And I'm sure the reason that I'm asking this is that the running stats and the energy and the forward passing, all of those stats, they must be higher in just the last couple of games. They are.
Yeah.
I don't know about the top bins. I think that needs to go in the dustbin, mate. That's an absolute shocker.
I think it's also a big part of what Tudor did, which was at the very start. He was like, there were some press conferences where he talked about the fitness level of the players and how he was saying that they were just not in a condition to play, in his opinion, and a lot of his first few weeks was actually getting them up to a physical level where he felt that they could compete. So I think that we can take his first few games, those poor results for what they are, but it's also maybe it just takes time for them to get up to a physical standard where they can play his system, because his system is more physically demanding than Thomas Frank's system, which is a more like mid-low block kind of defense versus Tudor's like high press man-to-man.
Yeah, do you know what, Ricky? On that point, if you were Thomas Frank, I don't know how you would feel with a new manager coming in saying that these players aren't fit enough, and then all of a sudden we see these club videos being published with all of the squad running around Hotspur Way. No footballs in sight. It was just all about the running. It just reminded me of being back at school doing cross-country running, where everyone thought you're going to be playing football today, and then it's like, no, the PE teachers have got us running around the field 25 times, and it wasn't any fun, but that's exactly what it was like.
But bro, it poses the question, what was they doing in training? They had how many coaches that they brought over from Brentford? They had a pre-season. They was under this manager. This manager kept his job longer than he should have, way longer than he should have. And so what were they doing in training, bro? If they were that unfit, if they were that unprepared, as Dustin was saying there, and as Tudor has said as well.
Practicing set pieces and long throws.
Mate, don't. Oh.
I will say every manager who goes into a new club says the players aren't fit enough. Pretty much. I mean, it may be true, right? They weren't, but that's the standard. Like Sean Dyche every time. Oh, they're not fit enough. Maybe we weren't, but I think that's kind of like the foundation of the new manager coming in saying, "Right, I'm going to drill you." So maybe we'll see.
That was a good voice there, Leigh. That was a good voice as well. Yeah,
but we're seeing the results of this. We're seeing, he's only been in Tudor's only been in 4 weeks. Yes, it's been 6 games, whatever it's been, but so we're starting to see the results of this hard work, and at least we're seeing the results of his training. And for the first time ever, we've built on a previous result, which is what, Chris, you've said this every week. You want to see progression, you want to see improvements, you want to see, and we've seen an improvement on Sunday, and we've seen a major improvement tonight. First time all season.
Do you remember how fit our squad was and how we ran until the very end? If there was 96 minutes played, we'd be running and we'd be scoring goals from 90 minutes to 96 under Pochettino. That's what it was like. Now, it's interesting how you should mention it. It might be a coincidence, but we get a 90th minute equaliser at the weekend against Liverpool because we just keep going. And then we win a 90th minute penalty today, and then we win the game. So is that a coincidence? I don't think it is. Ricky, let's stay with you for a second.
Sorry, I have a quick note on that. So there's a chart that I've seen recently, and I don't have it on hand, but basically it kind of maps managers, and it maps the distance that their teams run, as well as how much their teams, I think it's like how much their teams have to run and how much they rest in possession. And the thing about, or rather the spaces that they play in. So do they run a lot, and do they play in a big space, or do they run a lot but in a small space? And the thing about certain managers like Poch and Bielsa, and Klopp in his early Liverpool era, is that there's a lot of running and it's over a large space, but that lends itself to a lot more injuries. So I think that the challenge there is there is a specific way that certain coaches want teams to play that needs to have a larger squad, because without the rotation, the players will break down due to physical fatigue. There are teams now that kind of get around this by, when we have the ball, we slow down the pace so that we rest while we're in possession. And that's why you see games becoming, teams have the ball, but they don't do dangerous things with the ball, or the game looks like the pace is slowed down. It's because the teams are trying to manage their minutes or manage their fatigue by, being less intense when they're in possession, which is like what Klopp's later Liverpool era was like. So I think that's just interesting given what our injury problems are. But I think our injury problems are largely more bad squad planning and lack of rotation. But I think that the way that the manager coaches the team and how intensely he makes them run also plays a part.
Ricky, I wanted to ask you about us defensively, especially these last couple of games. In the 54th minute, a great block from Christian Romero from an Atletico Madrid cross. Now, someone asked me the other day that if Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero are always fit and available, do Kevin Danso and the likes of Radu Dragusin, do they get game time? Now, when you look at some of the red cards that we've had, suspensions, injuries, etc., how much game time do you think the likes of Kevin Danso will get? Because when you look at his performance, particularly leadership qualities that I wanted to bring up, especially against Liverpool, in the away end on Sunday, the fact that Kevin Danso was egging the youngsters to go over and applaud the fans, and there was a real connection. That game against Liverpool on Sunday, although some people saw it as just a 1-1 draw, there was that real connection. There was that real unity between the fans and the players on Sunday. And I felt that was a big moment on Sunday evening.
Massive moment on Sunday evening. But you know what? Big Kevin Danso, he's done that ever since he's come in, mate. You know, I've been so impressed with him. I really didn't know who he was when we brought him in. I thought he was another kind of cheap option, lastminute.com. I didn't know what to really expect from him. But you know what? Ever since he's come in, every single time he comes into the team, he plays immensely. He plays with his heart. He's strong. He's available. He's up for a battle. He's one of those that enjoy heading the ball out of defence. Even when Byfield came on in the Champions League, I think it was, and he played at right back, he looks after him as well on the field. So there's so much to be happy about, and to see the qualities that Danso brings as well. The thing is that he played so well against Liverpool that, and like you say about that leadership quality as well, is that you, in this particular battle, in this particular fight, you got to kind of play him. And if that means like playing Van der Ven at left back, maybe, and Romero in there with Kevin Danso and Empora on the right in a back four, maybe that works. Or maybe we now that we will have 3 centre backs available, maybe this Tudor's back 3 system might start working. But right now, while we've got a back four, a back four, but the last 2 games, and we've had positive results, I think that we have to build on that rather than the 3 personally. But at least we've got fantastic options now. And look, even tonight, when Romero has got a yellow tonight, and it's got to about, 20 minutes to go or something like that, we can take him off and go, all right, and call Romero, wait for the weekend. We've got you covered, and Big Kevin can come in, and nobody's upset, and nobody's worried, nobody's nervous about what he's going to come in and do. Kevin Danso has played fantastically, and he's earned every minute he's got, and long may that continue as well. He's put in fantastic performances, and he kind of reminds me in a weird way of Dawson, somebody that was also kind of underrated, but was always there for a last-ditch tackle, was again always up for the fight, always ready for a battle. Loved going up against a big centre forward. Loved heading it out of the box, and was a great partner in Ledley. You know, he looked after Ledley and done the things that Ledley couldn't do, so Ledley could do the things that he could do. So like that, he does remind me a bit of Dawson in that way. So I think we've got a fantastic gem on our hands in Kevin Danso, and I think he's one that we should rely on and has earned his spot in the team in this relegation battle.
Leigh, someone else I think that we should be rightly praising this evening, and that is Archie Gray. An unbelievable performance again from him. Such a young player, such a leader on the pitch as well. An unbelievable player. How good can he be in a Spurs shirt going forward?
Incredible. I mean, the performance tonight was the statement performance. I don't know if you remember before we signed him, he played, I think it was a cup game, I may be wrong, for Leeds against Chelsea. And he was the best player on the pitch. He was unbelievable. And people were starting to rave about him. And I think this was a statement performance. And, you know, he's been played, I think we said last time, he's been played everywhere except centre forward and goalie. And he's being given a chance in his favoured position, but not just sitting, a bit like I think under Frank, he'd probably be told to sit in front of the back 4. He was kind of everywhere. But I think particularly what impressed me was like his touch. And then, as Dustin's been talking about forever, of playing on the half turn and playing forwards, like his first instinct was to do that, and short passes, long passes. But I mean, I thought literally it's probably his best game. I thought it was incredible, and he was pretty good last game too, by the way. And him and Sarr, like maybe that's the partnership. Maybe we've stumbled on something.
Yeah, Sarr had a really good game today as well.
Who's that, Dustin?
Sarr.
Oh yeah. Dustin, do you want to add any? Do you want to add anything about
Go
Gray?
on.
With Gray, I think that we're seeing a lot of, because we've seen the YouTube videos that Spurs social media team puts out where he's very close with Maddison. And I think that, a lot of it has been kind of Maddison's mentorship as well, not just as a player, but also in terms of like the maturity you see from him, right? For his age, he isn't shy about yelling at his much older teammates about what they need to be doing in the pitch. And I think that that's the kind of leadership qualities you need. Last season when we were injury ravaged, our fan voted player of the season was Lucas Bergvall, and it looks like this season it's going to be Archie Gray. For what it's worth, maybe it borders on child abuse to be putting players of this age through what the club is going through now, but we are certainly putting them through a pressure cooker environment, and this is kind of the environment where a lot of players crumble. But for what it's worth, these players that we've got on our hands now are turning out to be real gems.
I don't know what you were going to say there, Ricky, but it's hard to think about taking Archie Gray out of this team now, isn't it?
No, I think you've got to. He's another one that has earned his spot. You've got to keep him in there, and you've got to keep him in midfield. Him and Sarr have built a partnership, but tonight for me, yes, look, last year Archie Gray and Bergvall were forged in fire. This year they've been forged in hell, and you've seen the emergence of Archie Gray. He's been growing week in, week out. He's been taking more responsibility week in, week out. But tonight, it reminds me, and I know that it's crazy to compare what I'm going to say, but that Gareth Bale moment against Inter Milan, right? And he skinned Maicon and he scored the goals and he got us back in the game. And I know Archie didn't score today, but it felt like one of those performances. It felt like an emergence performance. It felt like we saw what type of player Archie's going to be. Not just now, but for the future. I think everybody saw it tonight. And it was on the Champions League stage, so the world saw it tonight. Diego Simeone might not know who Archie Gray was, but I guarantee you he knows who he is now. 100%. 100%.
When he was substituted off, Llorente made it a point to go and shake his hand before he went off the field.
You see?
Yeah.
You see? Respect, bro.
And he's some players, with Llorente. He's a class act.
Massive.
Yeah. Leigh, let's come to you on 60 Minutes. Pedro Porro, outside of the boot. Wonderful save from the Atletico Madrid goalkeeper.
What a move.
What have you made of Pedro Porro and, particularly this evening and even captaining the team against Liverpool on Sunday?
I think he's one of those guys that, he's like 9/10 enthusiasm. I mean, he's a good player, but against Liverpool, he was that. He's just energy, So I don't. So I think he's a great choice as a captain, actually, as a backup captain, arguably better than Mickey van der Ven. Another whole discussion, but I'm not sure Mickey van der Ven is captain material. But I think tonight I think Porro had a bit of a sort of Dennis Irwin game. They used to say about Dennis Irwin that he was like 8 out of 10 every week and no one really noticed him. That move, by the way, was that was a sort of Euro 96, like pass. It was just a beautiful move. And of course, the guy saved it just to mess with us. But I think Porro is increasingly, he came into our club being sort of positioned as a really attacking, creative wing back who couldn't defend. And now I think he's much more, clearly his stats show that he's probably more crosses than any player, maybe a fullback anyway. But I think what he's brought to his game is just this kind of passion, commitment, throw himself into Michael Dawson, get kind of clattered. So I think he's increasingly a player who sets the tone. I love his delivery, but and he does get caught out, but I just think he's like an energy for us.
Dustin, it was certainly entertaining tonight, and I think that a lot of us, particularly on the podcast throughout this season, under Thomas Frank, as we've all said that it hasn't been entertaining enough, but it was certainly entertaining tonight.
Yeah, 100%. I think that the thing about Thomas Frank was that he basically bought into kind of the way Arsenal are looking to play now, which is play with very little risk. Attack in a way where if you lose the ball, you're not going to be in danger of being counter-attacked. And that's why they rely so much on set pieces. That's why they've got, most of their players are kind of centre-back build. And a lot of teams are moving in that direction as well. So when teams all move into a certain direction, especially when that becomes the tactical trend, if you buy into the tactical trend, the risk is that if you're not spending the most on wages, which we're not, we spend 7th on wages, the teams that spend more on wages than you can get the better players to play to that tactical trend. So sometimes you need to counter the tactical trend by doing something completely different, especially if you're not going to spend the wages to compete with them, because they can get the technical players that are also massive to be able to play the style. So the long story short is we can follow the tactical trend of the way the big teams in the English League are playing now, or we can try to play in a different way, because there's always a weakness to a particular style of play. And that's why, however dominant Pep City has been, he's always had to evolve his style, because someone will come up with a countermeasure for it, and then he needs to rotate his squad, change the way he plays, and then reinvent a new dynamic that is the way that dominates the league. And then someone comes out with a counter again. So we can try to keep following the trend, or we can play in a different way that charts our own path and puts us in control, especially if we're not going to compete on wages.
Ricky, let's come to you. On 61 minutes, Atletico Madrid, another attack from them, another shot, Vicario saving. 4 minutes later, another attack from Atletico Madrid. Van der Ven with an excellent sliding tackle this time. A minute later, Udogie came on. Radu Dragusin went off. 3 minutes later, Vicario making another save, close range one. On 74 minutes, Bergvall coming on, Pedro Porro going off. Now, it's great to see, isn't it, that our injury record this season has been absolutely atrocious, as it was under Ange last season. But to have the likes of Lucas Bergvall now coming back and Igor Tudor having so many more options, a delight to see, given our league position, and still given, I know we're very happy about tonight's performance and result, but we are still without a Premier League win in 2026, and we certainly hope, all of us hope and pray, that it's going to be on Sunday against Forest in this key game. But how important is it going to be, the likes of Bergvall back for Igor Tudor?
Oh, massive. The more fresh faces, the better. And I think that's why it was really important that Udogie, Bergvall, and Olasese as well, Connor, they all got minutes today. I thought Olasese was fantastic again today. Assured, mature, unafraid, brave. So there's so many positives right now, which is crazy, because it's only a week ago that everything was collapsing. It was only a week ago that everything was collapsing. We didn't want to see Tudor no more. Do you know what I mean? We didn't even want to watch the TV program Tudors. We was like, forget the Tudors, forget it. I don't want nothing to do with it no more. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy what a week can do, and it's crazy what, like Leigh was saying earlier, hitting rock bottom and then galvanizing yourself and going, all right, cool, let's go. And they've all stood up. It's so nice to see those fresh faces come back as well. We know there's going to be hopefully more to come. The more they get in the team, the more they can start getting minutes, the more we can build them and use them towards the end of the game, and suddenly give Tudor some options going from the 60th minute onwards that can really impact the game. So super, super positive. I just want to say one thing on Mickey as well. Tonight, that sliding challenge tonight, compared to the sliding challenge that he had last week, that was a potential red card. He got away with it. But Two different Mickeys. Two different Mickeys. Now, Mickey wouldn't have made tonight's Mickey was a confident. He was a confident, assured, calm Mickey. He was somebody who again was up for the fight and had enough of being the butt of the joke. I love that he was one of the ones that, I don't know whether it was assigned, but him getting to the press conference, the pre-press conference, or whether it was requested. But either which way, he did not have to be in that press conference technically. Anybody could have been in there. But he stood up and he answered those questions and he put it forward. And look, you spoke about social media, and I've said this before. Negativity sells, right? Fake headline sells. The more clicks, the more rage beige that you get sells. Now, where we've been in dire straits and dissolution and on the way down, we've been clutching at straws. We've been trying to ask all of the questions and find out all of the reasons why. And after we've gone through Thomas Fraud, the Bald, Vinay, Lange, the pitch, it was time to look at the players. And the players were part of this. The players were involved in this. And it was time for them to stand up. And so for Mickey to stand up in that press conference, I think that set a precedent. That set a bar that, look, there's a lot of things that go on online. There's a lot of rumors that get thrown around. And sometimes, most of the time, football is an emotional game. So you cling to certain headlines. We also know as Tottenham fans that journalists can pump out a negative headline, and especially when we're in chaos, which is a lot of the time in Tottenham's life, there will be moments of chaos that they can put in a particular headline, and we're going to gravitate to it. And a lot of us are going to take it on board and then find out later that wasn't the case. I'm not saying every journalist. There's a lot of journalists out there that are really good at their job and put out accurate stuff. But there's also a lot out there that are rage baiting and clickbaiting too, because they are actually, even though they despise some of the quote unquote keyboard warriors, they're actually competing with them, because those keyboard warriors with their negative headline are getting the clicks, rage baits, comments, and retweets. And so some of these journalists or papers or media, they've got to compete with that. So you're competing within negativity. So sometimes it can just roll into a ball. And when we've got no light, sometimes those things end up becoming part of our reasoning. Well, it must be that. Well, it must be that. Well, it must be that. I'm just happy that Vicky came out and set the record straight that all of them do care. All of them are up for the fight. Nobody's talking about leaving. They're just stupid, vicious rumors. And you know what? To put it to bed and to put a full stop. It's not. It's 3 dots. But that performance tonight, for them to show up, not only for themselves but for the club, but mostly for us and the manager, that was massive to see. Massive to see. The first time we've seen it in a long time. And Leigh was saying earlier about whether they're with the manager or not with him, or whether it's inspired. Them players played. They played for us. They played for the badge. They played for him. They stuck to the game plan. They believed in that game plan. They showed up against Liverpool. They showed up tonight. And let them keep showing up. Let them build on this. We know what situation we're in. We know what we've got to do to the end of the season. So to see these things happening and these positive signs happening, I'm just so happy, Chris, because the future looks bright again. Like, we look like ourselves again, and we can get out of this position where I can't believe we're in, but we can get out of this position and then look to the future and look to build. One of the things that Tudor said as well, the journalist tried it in the press conference. He was like, it's like, Tottenham are not going to be in Europe for a long time. He was like, well, it will take them a season, and then the season after they'll be back. Why not? That's what I'm saying. Let's go, man. Let's go. So long may this continue, bro.
I said this the other day, Ricky. Tottenham will certainly be back. It won't take long, hopefully. And also what you said about Mickey van der Ven. I reckon that there would have been some very awkward people sitting in that pre-match press conference when Mickey van der Ven is saying, about people making stuff up. And it was actually the people in the room who he was talking to. So that would have been very, very awkward, I can imagine. The attendance tonight at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, although I've said about the atmosphere and that roar that I love to hear, 49,568. So there were a lot of empty seats this evening. Leigh, let's come to you. On 74 minutes, Atletico Madrid had a free kick from 35 yards, another save from Vicario, and then just a minute later, from the corner, it was 2-2. What did you make of the goal that we conceded from the corner?
It was disappointing because, as you can see there, tactically, everyone's doing the right thing, but good delivery, and maybe we just switched off. So it wasn't a case of like, what the hell are we doing? It just seemed to be somebody lost their man, or maybe we're being zonal. But look at, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 players there. Maybe you just have to put that down to a good.
It was Sa that tried to go for it but was unsuccessful, and then both Gray and Spence were there, but they didn't quite cover the corner. So you can point a finger of blame, but to be honest, it's just unlucky.
Yeah, Dustin, let's stay with you, because a minute later, Atletico Madrid very, very nearly took the lead. But like I said earlier, Vicario made a number of saves, but they were clean through. Vicario made the save. A minute later, ball through the defence again. I actually wrote down here, it was too easy. At this point, it looked like Atletico Madrid were going to take the lead. A number of through balls going through the defence, and it just looked so easy at the time.
Yeah, I think we kind of lost our head at that point, and it was one of those things where I think our reaction to that goal concession could basically shape the rest of our season. If we had let our head drop and not attacked, and Xavi didn't score that penalty in the end, I think that, it would have been, oh yeah, I see, soft underbelly, they can't take it up them, and Tottenham always let you down, right? But even after that gut punch of conceding that corner, the boys didn't stop fighting, and they got something back from the game. But I think it's one of those things where it's staring down defeat in the face and going, even if I go down, I'm going to go down fighting. So that to me was an indicator that there are better things to come. Because if they had just crumbled, then it would have basically been a damn squib of a game where we didn't even win a game. It was another draw and we're eliminated. At least we finished this with our first win of the season, our first win of this year, and our first win for Tudor, and then we can build momentum from that.
I was going to ask you about that, Dustin, because as a manager, it's so important, isn't it, to get your first win. I know we're out of the Champions League, but I don't think that Igor Tudor would have wanted to go to into that Nottingham Forest game on Sunday, having not won a game as Spurs manager in his first 6.
Yeah, no manager wants to be in that situation, but no manager lands in a squad going, I have 8 first team players out. So I think a big part of this is actually surviving long enough for our players to come fit again. So we saw Udogie and Bergvall come back. I think when Kudus comes back, that could actually solve a lot of problems, because Kudus was a good player on the wing, the way Frank was using him.
Yeah.
But he plays centrally in Ghana, right? So if we have problems with creativity in central areas, Kudus can play there. He was just never profiled by Frank as a central player because Frank doesn't play centrally. But now that we have a different manager, and a manager that sometimes shifts players around from what are their traditional positions, potentially Kudus could come back and be a foil for us in central areas, and be a foil for Xavi to play off, and for us to start dominating central areas a lot more.
Now, 9 minutes from time, Tudor made a treble sub. Olosesi, Gallagher, Danso all coming on, Romero, Gray and Tell going off. Olosesi again being involved, having made his Premier League debut away at Liverpool at Anfield on Sunday. Of course, James Rosewell did exactly the same thing. I said on Sunday, actually, on the podcast, that I think it's great that Spurs are now integrating some of these young players and giving opportunities. We've wanted to see this as Spurs fans for a very long time, under multiple different managers. Ricky, lastly, talking about the action from tonight's game, of course, we got the winner in the 90th minute, Xavi Simons, with a penalty, a very calm penalty from Tottenham's number 7.
Calm but fierce all at the same time. It had fire on it. And it was, it was as accurate as Robin Hood's arrow, mate. It went properly into that corner. Clipped the post, and he made sure there was no way that he wasn't scoring that. Love that for Xavi as well. It's another moment to stand up in the 92nd, 3rd minute, like you said there, and put us in a winning position, going for that win that they deserve. They deserve that tonight. They deserve to at least come away with a win. And for Xavi to do it the way that he done it, absolutely icing on the cake tonight. But again, I think that this was another moment for Xavi to kind of, when the team is playing actual football, you see the best of him. When they're moving and shaking, you see the best of him. He finds those pockets. He does find those passes. But the team needs to be playing football rather than whatever we've been doing for a lot of this season. So, again, let that be the spark for all of these to start playing risky, front-footed, creative, expressive, improvisational type football, and I think that we're going to see more glory nights at Tottenham.
It was nice to see Xavi Simons walking down the tunnel with yet another player of the match award in the Champions League this season. He's picked up a couple, but that will do him the world of good, for his confidence going in, to these remaining Premier League games this season. Now, that brings me on nicely to talk about the Forest game, because going into Sunday's game, Spurs are 16th, 30 points from 30 matches. Nottingham Forest are 17th, 29 points from 30 matches. West Ham are in the bottom 3. They also have 29 points from 30 matches. Spurs play Forest on Sunday, 2:15 kickoff UK time. Ricky, with the team that played this evening, and I've left this picture of Xavi Simons scoring the winning goal this evening on screen, because I wanted to ask you, does Xavi Simons start this game against Nottingham Forest on Sunday? What should be the starting 11 in your opinion, and how big is this game in Tottenham's Premier League history? Because, Spurs just 1 point above the relegation zone.
This is one of the biggest games since the cup final last year in May. It's one of the biggest games. It's massive. Not only is it against one of our rivals that are down there, but we need this win at this moment. It's a 6-pointer, arguably. So it's one of those that if it's going to happen, it needs to happen now. We haven't been able to beat those above us or below us for so long. And now is the moment. Now we're going up against a side that are in exactly the same position, that have had a roller coaster of momentum. They pick up a couple of points, then they drop, and then they have a bad performance, and they have a good one. But they're battling. We've seen what West Ham are doing. They're battling. I see West Ham getting out of it either which way. We see what Leeds are doing just above us. We get 3 points against them, against Nottingham Forest. It is absolutely, I can't tell you how valuable it is, not only to every single one of those players, but to the league and to the points and to where we go from here. So I love the movement of all the fans coming together to cheer the coach on, and to just give him that hero's welcome and to roar him into battle or against Nottingham Forest. I love that type of movement, and I love that type of energy, and it's what we do best as Tottenham fans. When it comes down to the crunch, we do come together, we do stand up, and we do the right thing for our boys and for our club. We always do. So for that to happen on Sunday, I think is absolutely massive, bro. Biggest game that we've had in a very, very long time. And if this is the moment to do it. They've got the unlikely point. They've got a bit of momentum. They've got a bit of confidence. They've gone out tonight, but against Atletico Madrid, and put on a fantastic performance. for 95 minutes, for two halves. Yes, there were moments in there that didn't go our way, but ultimately they didn't drop at all. So let's keep moving that forward, and let's go into that Sunday game, with our heads high, with our chests high, believing in each other, standing for each other, watching each other's backs, but as well as giving each other the confidence to go out there and do the same thing and express and make things happen. Not worry about the position, let the opposition worry about us. And that's what we mostly need to do on Sunday. I can't wait. Me and my brother's got me a ticket to go down. So, yes. So I should be down there on Sunday as well. It's going to be another massive game. We've got the pod afterwards, Chris. Otherwise, I would say I'd meet you in the flower pot. But we might have to save it for another parade sometime soon, brother. Sometime soon. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But it's massive, absolutely massive. The boys have got everything going for them right now. There's no excuses to fall back, and there's no excuses for belief either. It's about going out there and making it happen. Stand up like you stood tonight. Stand like you stood against Liverpool. Stand up when it's meant to, when we need you the most to stand up, and go out there and secure those 3 points.
Yeah, well said. Well, of course, Forest are in Europa League action on Thursday evening before they play Spurs on Sunday. 3 months ago, Leigh, we lost 3-0 away at the City Ground. Of course, we've changed manager. They've changed manager. Indeed, they've changed manager a couple of times this season. What sort of game are you expecting on Sunday? And how worried are you that Spurs are only 1 point above the relegation zone? And, with the week that we've had and what we've spoken about in the nearly 2 hours that we've been recording, are you more confident now that we are going to pick up a result, pick up our first Premier League win of 2026?
I think that it's a 12-pointer. It's not a 6-pointer. It's a 12-pointer. I think if we win on Sunday, I have no doubt we'll be fine. I don't think it follows that if we lose, we're down either, but I think it's going to be a lot harder because then the next big one is Leeds, right? You got to take points off people above you. Wolves, I know we go, but so I think if we win, we'll be fine because I think you'll have momentum and you'll have the points. I think the second byproduct of all of this is not just how bad the position we're in, is that you start watching West Ham games and I watched Forest Fulham on the weekend.
I know.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I don't know which Forest is going to show up. Forest at home against Fulham, they went for it. They really went for it. And I was like, okay. Again, Dustin's talked about this. Do we need that Forest to show up? Or the Forest who normally show up will be a low block, hit us on the counter. But they used to have like a Langer. They used to have these really speedy players. So, if it's that Forest, you want Simons, right? You want Simons to try and unlock them. So I think there's a gamble to be had, and maybe the best thing for Tudor to do is go with momentum, which is build on tonight, rather than second guess. But I do think there is a factor there of just what's the most likely version of Forest, because it is going to dictate how we play to some extent.
Yeah, Leigh, do you want to give?
I think picking up what you said, I think that Xavi should play if we need to unlock Forest, but we also need to have a plan for Morgan Gibbs-White, whether it's man marking him or having two midfielders picking him up just to make sure that he doesn't cause us problems.
I was going to mention him, Dustin, and I was going to ask you all about him. Who are Nottingham Forest's key men for this fixture, and who should we look out for the most? I suppose that is pretty obvious with Morgan Gibbs-White because a lot of us wanted us to sign him in the summer.
Yeah, 100%, and Elliot Anderson as well.
Yeah,
Anderson's just like one of those annoyingly good players. That goes without saying.
We should sign him.
Dustin, before we get your thoughts on this game, Ricky, do you want to give us a score prediction for Sunday?
Yeah, today I will. What am I going to go for? I'm going to go for 3-1.
3-1. Leigh, what about you?
1-0 Spurs.
I'll have it.
I think it's going to be a tight game. I'm going to go for a 1-0, I think, as well. I don't think it's going to be the most entertaining game, but as long as we get the 3 points, that is the main thing. Dustin, how are you feeling ahead of this game? And what do you think is going to happen? How do you think this is going to pan out? And what should Igor Tudor do in terms of team selection?
I think he should start Xavi. I think that we could potentially give Souza a try, if not starting at least maybe 20 to 30 minutes, because I think that we need to rotate with Udogi, otherwise we're going to lose him again. We've just got him back. So I think that we need to carefully reintegrate the players that have just come back from injury, because if we're going into the run-in, the last thing we need is another injury to Bergvall or Udogi. So a lot of it will be playing to get the result, but also making sure that we don't pick up more injuries that will compound our situation, and no more stupid red cards.
Yeah, absolutely. Dustin, before we end, have we got any more slides to go through, or have we done them all?
I don't have slides, but if you go to browser, I have tweets basically that are relevant to the game. So this is our unbeaten run at home, 25 games. And Archie Gray, I think a lot of people considered him to be the man of the match, even though I think Xavi got that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is also why English clubs are doing particularly badly in the Champions League. There's this chart over here that has the Opta Power rankings for all the teams in the league, and essentially the leftmost thing is the English league. And basically the reason that the English teams have kind of fallen off in the latter stages of Champions League is that most of the teams in the latter stages of Champions League from other leagues are more secure in their positions, so they can devote more resources, they can rotate players for their league games, and then when they reach the knockout stages, they just play their first teams. Whereas, we are fighting for Europe, fighting relegation. All the English teams have some kind of game to play, especially this particular season where everyone's beating everyone. And that's why we're doing so badly in Europe. Although I will say that of the teams, English teams got eliminated from the Champions League, I think we put up the best fight among all of them.
Yeah.
And Xavi Simons' performance in this game, most touches, like even duels won, right? So I don't want to hear how Xavi Simons doesn't have the stomach for the battle.
Yeah. Well, Dustin, thanks for that. Ricky, I tell you what, I'm going to give you a task of after Sunday, I want you to bring all of these slides like Dustin does.
Listen, mate, the only slides I'll bring is the sliders, all right? Like, that's the only ones I'll bring, okay? I can't compete with Dustin, bro. I can't compete with Dustin. You must be mental,
mate.
You got to be kidding me, mate. But you know what, Chris? Before we go, I think today we got some news about a Tottenham legend, Danny Kelly, broadcasting legend, Danny Kelly, who has put out an announcement saying that he's got cancer and that he's got to take some time off, and that he will be back in the game. He will be choosing the shows that he does, but. Having listened to Danny Kelly and I know you have too, Chris, but having listened to him for years, Tottenham supporter, diehard Tottenham supporter, whether it's Trans Europe Express on TalkSport or the podcast, I'm lucky enough to have been on a podcast with him and to be able to talk with him and converse with him. Absolute gentleman, first and foremost. Loves this club inside out, has got a wealth of knowledge, talks more than me as well. Has got 101 stories. And, from me, I know from you as well, Chris, and all of the boys on the pod, all of the regulars, and all of you guys around the world, I just want to send him loads of love, loads of positive energy. And take this time, bro. Take a little break. Take it easy. And you'll be back stronger. And I've said to him in a tweet that... he's going to beat this like we're going to beat Forest on Sunday. So, yeah, just want to send big love out to Danny Kelly. And yeah, bro, can't wait to hear you back on the airwaves real soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Echo everything you've just said there, Ricky. And when I heard the news, I did actually send him a WhatsApp earlier, and he did reply pretty much after that. And I said that we send our love and best wishes to him, and I hope he won't mind me sharing this. But I tell you what a genuine guy he is, because when England were playing in the Euros and my flight was cancelled and I couldn't get home, Danny Kelly actually WhatsApped me and turned around and said, Chris, if you can get on a flight to Dublin, where he lives in Ireland, he said, just stay at my house, come here, stay here, make yourself at home. And I tell you, I thought a lot of that offer. Obviously, that didn't happen, and I eventually got back to London in the end. But yeah, what a real lovely, genuine guy. He's been on the podcast a couple of times, and he is definitely, and I'm not just saying this, he's definitely one of my favourite ever guests that comes on this channel. And like you just said there, Ricky, the knowledge is unbelievable. And yeah, he's a broadcasting legend. And yeah, of course, we all wish him the very, very best. Ricky, before you go, tell us all about what you've been up to. Tell us all about the podcast that you and Darren, of course, do. And of course, you'll be at the game on Sunday as well.
Yeah, man, you guys know what I've been up to. So yeah, Tea Talk and Tottenham is the podcast that I do with my brother Darren Hart, aka the Hart Man, where we just two mates, two brothers that have grown up together and love Tottenham, and we talk about the previous 2 weeks or so of Tottenham's mad history and not history, but mad journey along this season. So it's been a crazy one. Episode 11 is out now. So if you put in Tea Talk and Tottenham, all one word, into YouTube, you will find us. But apart from that, there's auditions going on. And then I'm hosting some reggae and lovers rock gigs as well around the country. So I put that stuff out on my Instagram. Check that out. Official Ricky Norwood on Instagram. And you can, if you want to see Tottenham stuff, check out the Tea Talk and Tottenham Instagram and Twitter, but also my Twitter at Ricky J Norwood on X. And yes, if not there, you'll find me here on the Spurs Chat Podcast. Always an honor and a pleasure to be on, and especially after a win. Come on, Tottenham, let's go into that game and do the damn thing.
I was going to say, Ricky, as long as Tottenham keep winning, these podcasts are getting longer and longer.
I don't mind, mate. I don't mind. My battery's about to die any moment, but I don't care.
Leigh, thank you so much for joining us again. And, you've become a real regular on this channel, and hopefully we can talk about a lot more wins and talk about more positive things than what we have done all season. But I hope you enjoyed today's show. Thanks so much. And what are you up to at the moment? Anything exciting?
Well, first of all, I haven't been on for a win in, let's just say, I don't know, a year. Second,
I think I'm the same.
Yeah. Secondly, Ricky was on about Robin Hood. Like, are you going to be doing Panto, Ricky, Robin Hood, or no?
I've done it. I've done Robin Hood.
You've done Robin Hood.
I don't know if I'm doing it this year.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I played the Sheriff of Nottingham. Can you believe that?
I can believe that with that beard. So no, I'm very excited. I'm going home next week, or coming home. It's my dad's 80th on Thursday. So fly to London Tuesday, get there Wednesday, night in London, and then drive down to Devon, which is always a fun little jaunt just till Sunday. But my old man's 80th, kind of have to show up, really, don't I? So yeah, looking forward to it. And it looks like the weather's better there, so I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Leigh. We'll talk to you very soon. And Dustin, thanks so much as always. And I'm sure Ricky will follow suit one day and bring some slides. But thanks so much for all the work that you do.
Cheers. Yep, I'll have the new video out soon, which is how to build a stable club. And first things first, get rid of Langer and Vinay.
Well, first thing is first is get a win against Nottingham Forest on Sunday and give us all a bit of a break, because going into the international break, I tell you what, we'd all feel a lot more easy about our Premier League status for next season. I know we've been talking about European football tonight, but we won't be playing in Europe next season, but we certainly want to be playing in the Premier League and not the Championship. Ricky, thank you so much for your input today. Thank you, Dustin. Thank you, Leigh. And thanks for watching, everyone. We are now finishing this at 1:15 in the morning here in the UK. So thank you so much if you have stayed with us. Remember that all of these podcasts are also available on audio platforms. And thanks so much for your support. And we will speak to you all soon. Stay safe and well, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on.
We'll be right back.